Idaho Matters podcast is brought to you by St. Luke's On Demand Virtual Care, which allows patients to see a provider from their home using a computer or smartphone with on demand care for common ailments such as a cough, sore throat, or a sinus issue. More information at stlukesonline.org.
At the Boise Art Museum right now, there are almost 1,000 hand-painted plates on display. The blue and white dishes show detailed illustrations of comfort foods like spaghetti and pancakes and hamburgers, the last meals of death row inmates.
You have to wonder what kind of life they lived for that to be the case.
I'm Julie Luqueta. Find my report and pictures of the Last Supper exhibit at boisestatepublicradio.org.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Gemma Gaudette. This is Idaho Matters. For more than a decade, CATCH, which is Southwest Idaho's leading nonprofit addressing homelessness, has been our region's cornerstone organization in helping families and individuals exit homelessness for good. Now, through Housing First strategies, as well as partnerships with local agencies and a commitment to restoring dignity and stability, CATCH continues to shape the path toward long-term solutions. And today, we're joined by Ryan Vanden Heuzel, CATCH's Director of Development, Betsy Bowling, Region 3 Director of Housing Programs, and Larita Shepard, a mom who experienced homelessness after fleeing domestic violence. I want to welcome all three of you to the program today.
Thanks, Gemma.
Thank you.
And Ryan, let me start the conversation with you. For folks who aren't familiar with CATCH, tell us about your organization.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So CATCH, or the Charitable Assistance to the Community's Homeless, as it's also known, really exists to, help everyone have a place to call home. We help families and individuals across Southwest Idaho move from homelessness into safe and stable housing. Our mission's pretty simple in that we seek to create, a safe and healthy and connected community that empowers people without housing to really kind of rebuild and thrive. We have such amazing community partnerships that help us achieve that. And we're always seeking and again grateful for this opportunity to, help bring some awareness to homelessness, across the Treasure Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And so at our fundamental core, we really seek to make homelessness rare, brief, and non-reoccurring. And again, we're very fortunate to work with such an incredible community, that comes alongside us to help, so many individuals each and every year. And I think that, this community has created so many key turning moments and is really generating such amazing generational impact through our housing programs. And again, grateful to be here and kind of dive a little bit more into, what CATCH is as we go.
Mm-hmm. And Larita, I want to bring you into the conversation. Could you begin by sharing your experience with homelessness?
Yeah, before Catch, I was fleeing domestic violence. The relationship was pretty horrible. Many failed attempts to escape my ex. It left me feeling hopeless and almost defeated. I always felt like he was going to
And,
find me. I was sleeping outside. I ended up turning to fentanyl and heroin to numb myself, trying to avoid every shelter out of fear.
mm. and Larita, how did you come to find Catch?
One of my good friends, I was sleeping outside on the sidewalk, and he was telling me about Catch and how they would help me. And at first, I was hesitant, but after just a short few visits, I felt like I mattered and that I was more than welcome there.
Larita, talk to us about those visits. Can you take us back to that first visit, because that must have taken a lot of courage to walk through those doors in the situation that you were in.
Yeah, the very first visit, I didn't talk to anybody. I just went in there for water and hygiene products. But the next visit, I wanted to change. I got tired of being homeless and feeling like I was alone. I really wanted my daughter back. And I went in there and I got to sit down and I did an intake. And I was still nervous. I remember fidgeting with my purse, but they made me feel
Mm.
welcome. And when I was matched with Amanda, she made me feel more confident and then helped me feel stronger like I've always been. She made me realize that.
So talk about Amanda, and you said you were matched with her. For folks that don't understand that process.
So it's a case manager, it's a caseworker who works with you and helps you find out your financial bills and things like that to get you into a place and make sure that you're financially stable.
Mm.
And they're not just there to tell you what you need to do. She was there when I needed somebody to talk to and I had no one to talk to. She was there to help calm me down. I remember there was this big situation um, with getting on Section 8 housing and all the little hoops you have to jump through. And I was just looking at the bigger picture of all how overwhelming it was. And she just sat there and she's like, we don't have to take it all at once, just one step at a time. And that stuck with me even to this day.
And Loretta, uh, so walk us through how Catch was able to find you stable housing, like, and how long did that take from the time you first started going to Catch?
It took me about 6 months, but that's because I had some major rental history from my past with my ex that I had to take care of first. I had to make sure that I had a stable job to make sure that I could keep, having the housing secure. And and after I got the job, then we started looking for places and we found this one which was close to the school district and the school that I wanted my daughter to go into. And it didn't take much longer after that before I got my key and was able to move in.
Mm. What was that feeling like?
So much relief. To be able
Mm.
to call a home that's safe for me and my daughter was huge. I think about it every time I turn that key.
Loretta, what does your life look like today?
I try to stay pretty busy. Right now, I am working a part-time job. I'm a full-time mom. Currently going back to get my GED to go to cosmetology. So I've been pretty busy with that.
And Loretta, what would you like our community to know or even understand about people who are experiencing homelessness?
I would like the community to know that not every single homeless person down there wants to be homeless. A lot of us, we don't choose it. There's many factors that cause people to become homeless and fall into homeless, and it's easy for us to lose hope. But if we have a community that comes together and show us that support that we need, it will help us go further in life. I really believe that.
And Loretta, what do you want folks to know about Catch?
Catch is an amazing organization. They help families and individuals find their way out of darkness and give them hope again. And they make us feel like we're a part of the community and that we matter.
Mm. Ryan, I want to talk next about the real life numbers when it comes to housing and homelessness. I mean, Laredo just so generously shared her real life story with us. So, can you walk us through, Ryan, some of these numbers? And let's start with how many families are currently experiencing homelessness. And we're talking Southwest Idaho.
Yeah, great question. So we have roughly about 350 families currently on our wait list and around 1,700 households total on our wait list. And again, these households consist of families with children, they're multi-generational families, everything single adults, and then obviously families who are fleeing domestic violence.
And what are some other statistics that the that you think are important for our community to know and understand?
Yeah, so our the housing crisis hotline that we have, this year already has received, over 21,000 calls. Our
Mm.
coordinated entry team does such a phenomenal job operating that hotline at Catch. And really, that hotline kind of consists of everything from A to Z. We have people reaching out that need rental assistance, families who are precariously housed, who need help moving from one house to the next, application fee assistance, moving assistance. They need, to locate a shelter nearby. They need help, finding food support. And so, that coordinated entry team does such a phenomenal job, meeting people where they're at and getting them connected to those community resources. To date, they've completed over 1,200 personalized housing assessments, and made, roughly around 2,800, amazing connections with local community members in need of help via our outreach team. And then
So,
on the
Ryan,
other side, oops, so go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, and I'm sorry to interject, but I want to go back to that number you said when it comes to your housing crisis hotline, and that's 21,300 calls just
Mhm.
this year so far.
Yes.
So that's more than 60 calls a day.
Mhm.
I mean, I am surprised by that amount of people who are reaching out because there is a crisis in regards to their housing. But how surprised are you by that number?
I guess surprised in the sense that, obviously it's a huge number. There's no getting around that. But I do think, kind of being the boots on the ground, seeing the community kind of where they're at, our team just does such a phenomenal job that I think people have really began to understand kind of that they can reach out and get help with what they need. And so again, not surprised
Mm.
necessarily, but again, I would credit that to our amazing team and the work that they're doing, and how quickly they're getting back to people to get them the help that they need.
And Ryan, talk to us about how many families you've been able to house so far in 2025. What has that looked like?
Yeah, so we've helped end homelessness for just over 390 neighbors. That kind of breaks down to about 95 families with 105 children, 185 children, excuse me. And that really just kind of speaks to our amazing team, and our Taking Root and Linda Fund programs and what they're doing to kind of help these families, that are on our wait list and that are coming into our programs. And that's really just generations of impact that are being created. 185 children, and that's children that are now in stable housing that can have their own room and go to the same schools, and again, really just start to kind of rebuild and thrive.
So, Betsy, how does Catch's process work to end homelessness for families?
Yeah, like Ryan kind of had mentioned, the outreach team and housing assessments, that's really where you start. Getting those housing assessments done, working with outreach. Outreach connects folks to Catch. And then really from there, determining what kind of housing program would work best for you. We have the Linda Fund, which is a short-term service where it's folks who just really need help with that first month's rent and deposit, to kind of get them going. And then from there, you have the Taking Root or Rapid Rehousing, the program that Larita was in. It's it's a longer term program, typically trying to get clients through their first year of a lease, getting them housed, working on any barriers that they have that have kept them out of housing. And then our permanent supportive housing is for folks who have a disability, more specifically, those who are severely and persistently mentally ill, or who have substance use disorder, who can't just struggle to stay housed in general. Typically, we're looking at clients who've been homeless for 10 plus years. And that is our longer term program. Just they can remain with us as long as they need to stay housed.
And Betsy, also talk about Our Path Home. Explain what that is, because this is part of Catch as well.
It is, yeah. So our path home is where our outreach lives, and we're what we call our inreach. And inreach is the ones who do the housing assessment. Like when Larita talked about coming into Catch and getting some hygiene products, she would have been working with our path home, and the folks who do the housing assessments and the front desk, and just getting that first connection. And so when someone's
Mm.
experiencing homelessness, that is going to be their first stop, is our path home, to do the housing assessment, to get in contact with outreach, just through maybe vital documents they need. And so that's their first stop to get them going in the process.
Betsy, there are numerous misconceptions about people who are experiencing homelessness. I mean, I think probably the most common is that, someone is lazy, they don't want to work. What is the real, true leading cause of homelessness? Because there is research and statistics to back this up.
Yeah, so people often do want to know a true cause or something that we can point kind of directly to. But as Larita talked about in her story, like the answer to what causes homelessness is very complex, and there's a lot of different reasons. The number one leading reason for families experiencing homelessness is fleeing domestic violence. So that is something that um, we can constantly see, is that domestic violence
Hmm.
is one of the number one causes for families who are in homelessness. But others also include mental health lack of resources, lack of affordable housing. There's just a numerous ways in which someone can end up homeless.
And Betsy, I mentioned earlier that so many Idahoans are truly on the brink of homelessness. In fact, can you talk to us about a number? And I believe it comes from the Idaho Housing and Finance Association's 2024 report. And it's in regards to people who are experiencing homelessness for the very first time.
Yeah, so that report stated that there's 78% of the unhoused Idahoans are experiencing homelessness for the first time.
So, what should people take away from that number, Betsy? Because that's a really large number. And I think, again, another misconception about homelessness.
Yeah, and it definitely is a very shocking number. And from what we see here at Catch is that it actually really boils down to affordable housing. The reason why Idahoans are entering in homelessness for the first time is that housing is not affordable. The rents are way too high and they don't match what people's incomes are. So what we've seen is that there is that wage gap. So average rent in our area is between 1,700 and $1,900 a month. And for a family to really be able to afford that rent, they need to be making $23 to $28 an hour. However, our
Mm.
clients make on average $15 to $19 an hour. So the reality is that rent is not affordable, and just that gap between how much rent is and what people are actually making.
And Betsy, how much of a reality is it that so many of these people actually are working? It's just that, as you mentioned, there's this wage gap.
Yeah, so in our program, once they get housed and like Larry just shared, like getting that job um, is really important and to be able to reach that sustainability. However, when they're living on the street, it is harder for folks to get a job because they don't have
Hmm.
often places they can shower. If they don't have clean clothes, they can't really interview. If they don't have some place to sleep, it's harder for them to well get up and go to a job. And so what we see in our program is that once folks get housed and then they do start working, oftentimes their jobs still are not they still struggle to sustain because rent is so high and they aren't making enough.
Hmm. And Betsy, why is it important that the community at large has a better and true understanding of these issues when we talk about things like affordable housing, the cost of rent, the wage gap?
Yeah, I think going back to one of your other questions, I think it's important because we need to dispel these myths and misconceptions about why people are experiencing homelessness. Like we said, like the reason why people become homeless are very vast. And wanting to increase the public's understanding of it so that there is more engagement and more activism in helping housing become affordable and helping wages go up for the average citizen to be able to afford housing. And that's just
Hmm.
why I really think that it's really important for our community to understand that the issue is bigger than most of the time we think it is.
And Ryan, can we talk a little bit about how, I mean, here we are at the end of the year, right? We're in the holiday season. This is the time of year where a lot of people, kind of reflect, want to know maybe how they can help the greater community. So when it comes to supporting Catch, what are the best ways that someone could support your mission right now?
Yeah, during the holiday season, we always do see an increase in need, across various aspects of our organization. And so, a few main ways that people can partner with Catch to help support us this holiday season and in 2026 as we go forward. We have an active giving machines activation going on. I believe those will be moving to, a site in Meridian soon. That information's on our website. You can also support Catch via our Avenues for Hope campaign that is currently active through the end of December. And as we head and look ahead to next year, I would encourage everybody listening to go on our website, learn a little bit more, reach out, connect with us, via the contact us page to learn more about what Catch is doing, our plans for 2026. If you want to make a donation, you can also do that via the website. But I think more than anything else, we are just beyond excited to connect with this amazing community to further amplify our programs, the support, and create, more key turning moments for local families.
Mhm. And Ryan, before I let all of you go, for you, what is the main, message that you would like people to understand, not just about Catch, but really, folks who are experiencing homelessness?
I think it's that everybody deserves a home. Everybody deserves to have that safety and stability, that place to come in and truly just kind of exhale and breathe again, and the opportunity to, have a future that's, not defined by crisis, but one that's filled with hope and big dreams. And again, I think that's Catch in a nutshell. And again, I'm beyond grateful for the opportunity to come on and share a little bit.
Well, I want to thank all of you for taking time to talk with us today. And in particular, Larita, thank you so much for sharing such a personal story with us. We have been talking about the homelessness issue here in Southwest Idaho and really what Catch has been doing for the last decade and what they continue to do to help people find stable housing. So a big thank you to our guest today, Ryan Vandenhuzel, Catch's Director of Development, Betsy Bowling, Region 3 Director of Housing Programs, and Larita Shepard, a mom who experienced homelessness once she fled domestic violence. And that'll do it for this episode of Idaho Matters. Thanks so much for listening. And just a reminder, you can find all of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts.
Looking for another podcast to listen to? Check out The Nature of Idaho from our partner station KISU in Eastern Idaho. Join hosts Peter Pruitt and Dr. Leif Tapanilla as they share fascinating stories from the Gem State's great outdoors, celebrating Idaho's wildlife, landscape, and natural wonders. That's The Nature of Idaho from KISU. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.